Hello, my friends, and let's start right away with the week summary. So, unfortunately, this week we've seen many Russian breakthroughs, allowing them to capture an additional 70 square kilometers. And honestly, these breakthroughs are due to the lack of reliable defense lines. And we've seen how the Ukrainian forces tried to break through in the Zaporizhzhia direction all summer, advancing about 8 kilometers before being stopped due to serious defense lines and mined territory. And now let's take a detailed look at the situation on each front. And we'll start with the Kharkiv direction. So here the occupiers have increased the number of attacks around the village of Lyptsi today. And it's clear they aim to capture the town, but the Ukrainian forces are doing everything possible to hold the defense and occasionally launch counterattacks. Therefore, the Russians have made no advances. In the Vovchansk area, so the battles for the town continue, and the occupiers brought in fresh reserves yesterday and immediately sent them into the battle. However, in street fighting, the Ukrainian forces continue to successfully destroy them, and the front line hasn't changed in the past day. So, over the past 24 hours, the Russians have dropped 22 guided bombs and conducted more than 15 assaults in this direction, and this is quite a high number. So, meanwhile, it's reported that the Ukrainian forces struck Shebekino in Belgorod region. So, in the Sumy region, so despite the presence of a large enemy group, no attacks are being conducted and only shelling of border villages is being reported. In the Kupiansk direction, so the occupiers continue to assault Synkivka and Petropavlivka, but as before, there are no changes along the front line. So, despite conducting 6 assaults in the past day, the fighting continues without significant advances. In the Svatove area, so the occupiers are attempting to assault Berestove, and the battles for Novoiehorivka are ongoing. So, additionally, there has been an increase in shelling of the rear areas, but no advances along the front line have been reported in the past day. In the Kreminna direction, so fighting is taking place for Nevske and Terny. So, and in the forest near Kreminna, no new offensive actions have been recorded, and the front line remains unchanged over the past day. In the Siversk direction, so attempts to capture Bilohorivka continue with breakthroughs towards Verkhnokamyanske and Vyimka, but these efforts remain unsuccessful for the Russians and the front line hasn't changed. In the Chasiv Yar direction, so the situation is extremely difficult today. So reports from the ground indicate that the occupiers are present in the streets of the city, and active fighting is ongoing on the outskirts, and assaults on Ivanivske, the outskirts of Klishchiivka and Andriivka, are also continuing, and the Ukrainian forces are trying to repel all attacks and are destroying a large amount of Russian equipment. Consequently, the front line remains unchanged. So, meanwhile, the Russians are heavily shelling Chasiv Yar and all other settlements. In the Pokrovsk direction. So the occupiers have increased their activity over the past day, conducted 31 assaults, and fighting is reported in the areas of Kalynove, Novoalexandrivka, the village of Sokil, Umanske, and that's it. So, additionally, heavy shelling along the front line also continues. And yesterday evening, there were reports of massive cab bomb strikes, and there were many hits on the Pokrovsk district. So, in the Kurakhove direction, fighting continues for Krasnohorivka and the village of Kostyantynivka. So 4 assaults were conducted over the past day, but the Russians didn't achieve any success, and shelling with cub bombs also persist. And despite claims by many experts that the Russians have run out of modern equipment, unfortunately, this is not true. In the Vuhledar direction. So the occupiers conducted 3 assaults, attempting to break through near Staromaiorske and closer to Velyka Novosilka, so through the fields. However, their previous attempts to storm Vuhledar resulted in significant losses in both equipment and manpower, and city remains under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces. And now the Russians plan to reach Velyka Novosilka and attempt to storm the city to take control of this part of the Donetsk region. But despite their efforts, there have been no changes along the front line in the past day, and the Ukrainian armed forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Zaporizhzhia direction. So the occupiers are trying to reclaim the territory lost during the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and over the past few days there have been attacks from various sides aiming to push Ukrainian forces from their positions. However, the front line remains unchanged and the fighting continues. In the Kherson direction. So fighting continues around the village of Krynke, but the Ukrainian forces haven't expanded their bridgeheads further, and as a result there have been no changes along the front line, but the destruction of the occupiers continues, and Russian aviation continued to launch glide bomb towards Kherson. So, and an interesting report has emerged from Russian military correspondents in this direction. So, we have come to a common conclusion. The immediate objectives of the special military operation have been achieved. We, the Russian army, have established a land corridor to Crimea, liberated the most fertile and resource-rich regions of Novorossiya from Ukrainian occupation, and exhausted Ukraine and NATO militarily, effectively demilitarizing them. Our supreme leader was right when he said that Russia is ready for negotiations and to stop hostilities at the current line of contact. Our generation has already fought enough. Let our children and grandchildren deal with the liberation of Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kherson, and Kharkiv. We have fulfilled Putin's task. So, this circus continues, and I think this statement underscores the lack of fighting spirit among the occupiers, as they are taking over foreign lands while having plenty of unused land in Russia itself. So meanwhile, while Scholz and other Western leaders haven't yet approved strikes on Russian territory with Western missiles, Sweden has supported Ukraine's use of Western weapons on Russian soil. So, according to international law, Ukraine had the right to defend itself with military actions directed at the territory of the enemy, as long as these actions comply with the laws of war. Sweden supports international law and Ukraine's right to self-defense, responded the Swedish minister. Overall, there is hope that other countries will follow suit, allowing the war to gradually shift onto Russian territory. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.